Alan. Today we're going to get the story about these relatives in the picture here. I'm going to point to each person and you tell me who they were.
That's my grandfather, Altenhofen, Joseph.
Joseph Altenhofen.
And that's my brother, Little Joe. They wanted him in the picture.
And who's this?
That's Grandma Rosa Altenhofen.
Okay.
And that's Aunt Ann. She has all her family in Modesto. That's Uncle Joe. He lived in Dakota until he moved to Minnesota. And that's my mother.
What's her name?
Catherine.
Okay.
Altenhofen, Roster.
And who's he?
This was Altenhofen, yeah, okay. And then that's Uncle Bill. He moved to Texas. Everybody moved. When Grandma died, everybody moved different direction. One went to the south, and the other one went east. And we came to California.
Okay, how about this lady?
That's Aunt Mary. That's Aunt Mary. That's Leona's mother, the one that died at her birth, and Mama took care of her child.
Okay.
Can you beat that?
So, tell me the story about your grandfather who started a town because he didn't like the farm.
Oh, he hated farming. Ew.
How come?
Grandma was the farmer. She had two boys and my mother, and they ran the farm. And my grandfather, he said, okay, we're going to do this. Oh, I forgot the elevator. Anyway.
We'll get there.
He decided that he would ask all the neighbors to get a little piece of their land. And then they got the railroad to come through Farmer. And then with the farming that way, he ran an elevator and Roselle ran another elevator. You know, they bring the grain and the oats and the wheat to the town, and they go up this large hill kind of to the elevator.
Yeah.
And then the grain is dumped in, the train comes through, and they put a chute to the train, and they take it to the countries that need grain. Very interesting. And then Grandpa decided that there should be a church there. So he got all the Catholic people together and they built a church. Then he decided that, hey, we shouldn't only have a church, maybe a Protestant, all the Protestants should have church. So he was really a famous person because he got all these things started. But he was kind of like an instigator. Mm-hmm. And he got all the farmers, the Newlands, the Roths, the Rosters, they were ours, but the Tugels and the Newlands and all those. And they all helped build a church. So they had a church for themselves, and we had our Catholic church. And then someone wanted to be my Uncle Pete Volz. That was my grandmother's Roster's daughter, married Volz, and they started a post office. So they had the post office. And then Alvin Tugel Louis Tugel wanted to start a creamery. You know, all the farmers brought their cream and milk in, and then they sold it to whoever needed milk. So if it didn't have a dairy. So they had that. Then they had Mr. Peterson wanted to have a dry goods store. You could buy shoes and long underwear and shirts and stuff like that. And then someone got the idea that, hey, you know what? We need a lumber yard because we need to build things, this and that. So they got a lumber yard. And then they decided that they'd build a hall for the meetings, you know, and stuff like that, and for bazaars and things like that. Then they got a grocery store. My aunt, Kate Volz, their son-in-law, Ray Horse and Jenny, wait a minute, I lost my thought. Jenny, they had a store. They started up a store, so they had a store. Of course, then they had two bars, one on this side of the street and one on the other. Grandma was wishing they'd never start a bar, but anyway, my grandma was a very much hater of because some people that she knew drank too much. Anyway, then that's it. And that's just about it. Grandpa was a great one for stirring up, you know, getting people interested and everything like that. He just hated farming, period. He just hated farming. And then Grandma had the boys, and of course one day my mother went out and they were all supposed to clean the barn. You know when you clean the barn after cows, it's a stinky thing, and horses. Anyway, they all and they were kind of mad at my mother because she got she got the boys involved. So they took a pitchfork and they threw it like this, and it went right through my mother's ankle. That's why sometimes she had them. But anyway, my grandfather took care of that situation. He got the boys there, and he says, right, that's the way you're doing it. She's not going to help anymore. Well, then they knew without her help, they'd have to do it themselves. So anyway, that's that.
So these two boys got mad and
Yeah,
threw
they threw the
pitchfork
pitchfork.
through.
You know, the pitchfork has 4 tines to it, and they like that, you know, through it.
And it didn't hurt her? God,
Well,
she's
I guess
lucky.
it did. I guess it really created. But you know what? In those days, you rarely went to a doctor because there wasn't one too close. And they had turpentine. I think they had fixed a bucket with water and turpentine, and they stuck her foot in that. And that's well, one day I stepped on a nail. It was that big. We were chasing.
God.
We were trying to get geese. You know, goose. And we were trying to get eggs out of this barrel that she had gone in. And there was I was a kid. I was about like 6, 7, and I crawled in and got the eggs. And I stepped on a nail and went like that. But you know what? It never hurt. Only a certain time when it rained or something like that. And I'd walk and I'd say, Mom, my foot hurts. And she goes, you know what it is? It's that what you stepped on. But they put turpentine. And they put that in, and they'd stick you. Oh, you didn't go. Ooh, your foot went in the turpentine. Period. I mean, there was no hole to say, ow, ow, ow. Anyway, and that was that. And of course, Grandpa loved to go out when they all came to town, and they'd go through it. They go to the bar and have a beer or something. And if they got a little bit too much, Grandma got on her high horse. She didn't like drinking.
So your grandfather created the town of Farmer,
South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Yeah.
All right. And
then he got a priest to come there, and his name was Father Shire. And to this very day, they don't have too much in. It's just a church. The church still. They built a new church. The old church is gone, but they built a new church. And the priest that was first there gave me first communion. Now I'm 87, and I was 6 when I got my first communion. He built a little grotto, and it's there. It was made a what do you call when something becomes
mosaic?
No. When something becomes something special, and the state wants to give you a name for it.
Well, it's like a historic
historic monument, and it's still there. Yeah, they made it a historical monument, and it's beautiful. It's all made out of the shells and the stones from the South Dakota. What do you call that place? I can't think of it. Oh, it's on the western part of South Dakota. You know, they built the mountain. Remember the mountain
Rushmore?
with the...
You mean Rushmore?
No, shells and from the Black Hills. The Black Hills, South Dakota. And he built it all of little rocks. He'd go every couple weeks. He'd go to the Black Hills, and he'd get some of these little stones and shells and everything, and he'd bring them back, and he'd make this beautiful. I have pictures of it somewhere around, and it's beautiful. It was quite big. It was about big as this. It was big as this kitchen here, like a small bedroom, big as this. And he made 3 little niches, one for the Blessed Mother, Saint Joseph, and Jesus, and made 3 little niches in it.